In today's craft and chat, I'm going to show you how to use vinyl and your Cricut to turn a standard Starbucks cup into a fabulous Friends cup. Hi everyone, welcome to our Crazy Life Scotland. My name's Fiona and this is another craft and chat video. Today's video, I've already started the project and I have came to a point where I'm going to do some more designing, so I thought I would do it as a craft and chat video to let you see what I'm doing. So my cousin gave me a Starbucks cup. It didn't have anything on it apart from like the Starbucks logo and the lines and things like that, and she wanted me to transform it into like a Friends based cup. So it's for her daughter Millie, my lovely wee cousin, and so what I've done so far is I've got her name in the Friends style lettering with the little coloured dots in between. I have put the skyline down there in a lovely, it's like a black vinyl, but it's sort of holographic, and it's really nice. Did I say that the Millie is colour changing, so when it heats up it goes pink and when it's cold it's purple, which I think is really cool. Here I have put the Friends frame, which is on the door in Monica's apartment. It's been very difficult to get it all straight because it's a curved cup. Here I have got unagi, which is one of Millie's favourite sayings from Friends, and down here I've got pivot, but I have actually lost the little red dot between the P and the I, so I'm going to have to, and now the T. Here's one. I think I'll cut the dots again, but cut them a wee bit bigger because they're not sticking very well. So I want something to go there and there. So I'm going to turn you around to Cricut Design Space and show you what I'm going to do next. Right, so I'm back in Cricut Design Space. I'm going to turn everything on that I turned off, just to let you see all the designs. So I'm just in my layers panel here, and when you are in the layers panel, if you click on something, you'll see the little eye appears. Now that eye can be used, if it's a normal eye, you can see it. So that is the layer for that frame, we can see it. But if I click on the eye, it has a line through it and it disappears. The design's still there, it's just hidden. So I'll pop that back on. What I'm going to do, because I want some more designs, I actually got the Friends design from Etsy. I bought it, I can't remember how much it was, but it wasn't a lot of money at all. And I'll show you everything that I got in it actually. Now, when you buy a file from an outside source, you need to download it to your computer and then upload it to Design Space. I went over that in detail in my last Craft and Chat video about the heat transfer vinyl, so I'm not going to go into it in detail here. But I've got a folder here called Friends Downloads, and look at all the different things that I got with it. I got loads of different files. Now that's all, there's a peephole frame, the pivot, the lobster, smelly cat, unagi. So I mean there's loads and loads there, and they are PNG files, which is like a photograph rather than SVG, but that's fine. You can turn it into a cutting file when you get it into Design Space. So I basically went through all of the files. So I extracted them from the folder, put them into another folder, and then I went through and decided what ones that I wanted. So there's a whole load of different ones there. Like, I just think they're brilliant. So once you've downloaded your file and extracted it into a folder, you then go down to upload down here. Now that's a card that I've been making. That is what I used for the heat transfer vinyl video. Now here is the thing. So there's the skyline that I had. So I could put that back in if I wanted to, but I don't need to because I've already used it. Now, other designs that I thought I might use was the smelly cat, which I think is brilliant. So I'm going to click on that and you'll see it turns green and a wee picture of it goes down there. And there's the parts of the letter as you saw. And I think I might do I've not got any Joey things, so I might do how you doing. So I click that and it's green. So now I've got the two that I've selected are down there, and I just click add to canvas. Now they might come in huge. Look, don't panic if that happens. It usually does. It's fine. Just click out, then click on one of them, and you can come up to the size up here, and just, I'll take it down to 8. Smelly cat one, I'm going to take down to just anything just now. I'll make it 5, just so it's nice and small. Here we go. So there's Smelly Cat, and there's How You Doing. Joey's brilliant. I love Joey. Let me know in the comments below, do you like Friends? Okay, so I am going to use those designs probably over here. The only thing is, it won't be very symmetrical. I should probably put one of these over here and made it symmetrical. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. So what I might do is, I might have the bottom of How You Doing going along there, and then his head up here, and then I might have Smelly Cat and then the cat there. What I might do is actually split the designs up. I'm going to hide the other ones that I don't need just now. So I'm going to click on it and then come over to the panel and hit the wee eye. Right, now we have our 2 designs that we're working on at the moment. How You Doing and Smelly Cat, Smelly Cat. So let's concentrate on Joey first. I think I want to cut his head and the words separate, I think. So to do that, I've highlighted them there. I just clicked on them there and it's all together. So I could also have came over to the layers panel and clicked on that. It doesn't matter what way you do it. Now down here you see the contour button. So that lets us get rid of bits that we don't want to cut. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to do this a couple of times, I want to duplicate Joey's head. So I'm going to come up to the duplicate there and click it. I might do it a couple of times just in case. Okay, so now I'm going to go down to where it says contour, and I am going to click hide all contours. So as you can see now, it's only his head that's there, and I want his eyebrows as well. So I'm going to click this eyebrow and that eyebrow, and when I come out, it's just left that, which is great. And all of that's going to be one colour. I don't know what colour I'm going to do his head yet. He's kind of dark brown, isn't he? I'll need to look at my vinyl and see what I've got. Then I'm going to take one of the other duplicated ones. And if you forget to duplicate, it's not an issue. You would just go back to upload and then click on it again and add to canvas. So it's not the end. Oh, here we go. We're all big again. I'm just going to delete it because I don't need it. It's not the end of the world if you do forget to duplicate it. Right, so I'm going to take this one, and now I don't want his head and his eyebrows, but I want everything else. So I'm going to go to contour. And instead of clicking hide all contours this time, I'm only going to click his head and his eyebrows, and that should just hide them and leave the words. There we go. How you doing? And colour-wise, I think I'll probably keep it as not as samey as possible. I'll probably still use this sparkly holographic vinyl for the words. So I'd want to tell the Cricut that I want this to be cut from different vinyl from this. So I'm going to click on his head, and I think I just want that brown. So I'm going to come up to where it says basic cut. I'm going to click the black bit, and I'm just going to click brown. The actual colour here doesn't matter. It's the colour that you put on your mat before you cut it that matters. So I'm telling the Cricut that I want that to be brown and I want that to be black. But I know when I come to cut it that I want a brownish on there and that I want my sparkle there. And as it turned out, we didn't need this one. So we can just delete that. Now to delete you can either hit backspace or you can go up to your little delete button there. So that's him done. Now I need to make sure that I've got him the right size. I'm going to take my tape measure and I'm going to do it with the writing first. So I think I want the doing along the bottom of the line, and I want that to be no bigger than 5 centimetres, but I think that might make it quite big. So I might try 4 centimetres. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to come up to the size. I'm going to make sure that the padlock is locked, and that way it keeps it in proportion. Oh, it's already at 4. I might try making it 4.5 and see how high that is. 4.5, hit tab, and that makes it 2 centimetres high. So let's have a look back at the cup. So 2 centimetres. I suppose I could have the how you on the top and the doing under there. So that would look okay actually. And for the head, at the moment it's 5 centimetres by 3. So I want to make that a bit smaller, I think. I might make it the same sort of width. So I'll make it 4.5. Oh no, it already is. I don't want it as big as that. I'm going to try making this 4. Now you can also change the size by dragging the little box, and you again make sure your padlock is locked or else it will go all dodgy on you. But I think I'm going to put this at 4 and see what it does. It makes the height just over 3, and looking at it, yeah, I'd say that's pretty good proportion wise. So I'm quite happy with them. I will leave them as they are now. Let's go to Smelly Cat Smell. I'll make it a bit bigger just now so we can see what we're doing. I want to separate the cat and the words again, so I'm going to duplicate it up in my layers panel. And then I'm going to click on contour. I'm going to hide all contours. And what you will always notice when you hide all contours, it has to keep something there or else it would just be deleted. So it usually keeps the top thing there. So all of them are greyed out, which means they're going to come away. And it's the cat that's staying. So that's good. That's what we want from this one. So if we just hit X, we've just got the cat left, which is good. Now, I'm going to do quite a lot with the writing here. So I'm going to duplicate it another few times. Just click duplicate as many times as you want. So this time I'm going to hit contour. I am going to hide all contours, but this time I want the word cat. So I am going to click on the C and the dot and the A and the dot and the T. Now remember, when I hide all contours, it still leaves that one blank, so I need to go back up there and hide that one. So it should just be cat that's there now. And it is, but look what it's done. I forgot to click the inside of the A. So I'm just going to highlight that again, go back down to contour, and there's the little bit there in the middle of the A. I'm going to click that, hit X, and there we go, we have cat. So I want to duplicate cat a few times because I'm going to keep the writing black, but I want to change the colour of the little dots in between. So I'm going to duplicate cat twice. I am going to go to contour, and this time I am going to hide all contours. I'm going to click on this circle because I want this circle, and I'm going to want it to be a different colour from that one, so I'm not going to highlight this one. I do want to click the cat again because we don't want that. So now we have just one of the little tiny circles that would be there. Now I want to actually make this slightly bigger, I think, because when I was doing the pivot, they're very small, and I did manage to lose a couple of them. So I'm going to make it ever so slightly bigger. So if I highlight it, it's telling me that it's at the moment 0.326 centimetres. So I'm going to change that to 0.5 and see how big it makes it. Which isn't actually too bad, I don't think. What I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to take all of the circles out because I want to change the colour of them. So I'm going to highlight it, go to contour. I thought I had done this. Click that one, click that one. There we go. Now, this one, I've made that 0.5 centimetres now, and I'm going to click the black and change that to red. And I want the other one to be the same size, so I'm just going to duplicate this circle. I don't need to go back in and contour it. I can just duplicate this one up there. I'm going to change that one to yellow. So now, if we have a look at our cat, we've got the red one there and the yellow one there, and they don't look too big, so I'm quite happy with that. That's me done cat. So what I'm going to do, click anywhere outside the word, hit the left mouse button and just drag. Okay, that's it all highlighted, and I'm going to come up here to group. So that means that now, oh, for goodness sake, Fiona, say if you do that, just go to undo. There we go. So now I can move it about and it's all together. So we now have the cat and we now have the word cat. We are now wanting to work on the word smelly. You know what, I'm going to get rid of all of these because I don't need all of these. Delete. Right, so I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go to contour. I'm going to hide all contours. And this time, I want smelly. So I'm going to click S dot M dot E dot L dot L dot Y. Actually, I don't need all these dots, do I? Because I'm just going to be changing it anyway. So I'm going to take the dots out. That makes more sense. So I'm going to click on them. Don't want the dots. I can just duplicate the ones I used for cat. And that saves me extra work. But I need to remember I don't want the cat. So I'm going to click that and X. There we go. Now we've just got the word smelly. So I'm going to click on the red dot in the layers panel and that highlights it there. And I'm going to duplicate that because I've been doing it red, yellow, blue, red, yellow, blue. So I'm going to want red, red. So I want 2 more of the red circles. So I'm going to come up to duplicate in the layers panel once, twice, 3 times a lady. So I'm going to put that one in there. Again, it doesn't matter, yellow, blue. It doesn't matter whether it's in the centre or whatever because it's going to cut off a separate piece of vinyl anyway because it's a different colour. I want to then click on my yellow dot. It's all grouped, so it's easier to come over into the panel and click on the yellow dot there, and I want to duplicate that twice. Duplicate, duplicate. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to move that to between the M and the E, and this one between the L and the Y. And I only need 1 more circle, and I want it blue. So this one's highlighted. I'm just going to duplicate that. And then I'm going to come up to my colour and change that to blue. And then move that there. And I still think that looks okay. I don't think that's too big at all, the dots. I think they're fine. So I'm going to group this together again. Hit group. Now I want to see what size I want it. So, smelly is going to go there, and that's a bigger word, so let's measure that first. So I reckon probably about 4 centimetres for smelly. Now that's going to make it tiny, I think. Let's have a look. Because it's 11 just now. So I'm up at the size, I'm going to type in 4. It is very small, so it might be difficult. I want to actually make that a bit bigger. Try making it 5. Again, it's going to be small, so it's going to be difficult to cut. I think what I might do is change the proportions to see how it looks. So I'm going to duplicate it just in case it looks silly. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to come up to the size again. I'm going to click the padlock so that the proportions are unlocked. And I think we can get away with that being, with the smelly being probably about 1.5. Let's see if it looks silly. 1.5. It actually doesn't look too bad, does it? I wonder, I might make it 1.25. Oh, that's a 3, Fiona. That's a bit better, I think. So, comparing the two of them together, I think that's fine, and that is going to be easier to cut. The only thing is, oh, I don't know why it's not focusing. What's going on? I hope it's not been doing this all video. I apologise if it's been doing this all video. So I'm going to go for this, but again, I wonder if the dots are going to be too small. I'll try it and see, and if the dots are too small, then I can always go back in and redo it. So cat, we can afford to have that a bit bigger. That can easily be 4 centimetres wide, I would say. So go up here, keep the padlock locked, and go to 4 wide. Makes it just under 1 centimetre tall, and the dots should be okay. So if I put the two of them together, I don't know why my camera's not focusing properly. And the cat is going to sit just under here. So how tall do we want the cat to be? Not too big. Maybe about 2 centimetres. Right, so that should be okay. Right, so what have we got now? We've now got Joy's head that's going to, I'm going to cut out of brown vinyl. I've got the writing that I'm going to cut out of the sparkly vinyl. I'm going to cut the cat out the same sparkly vinyl so I can leave that black. I've got the word cat. And I've got the different coloured dots. And the word smelly. So they will sit like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to make it. Now I'm using my Explore this time rather than the Cricut Joy because that's what it was set at. So that's okay. So I'm going to click Make It. And let's see what happens. So all of the black, it's cutting together, but it does tend to try to save as much vinyl as possible, and it really squeezes it in, and it can make it hard to read. So I like to just spread it out a little bit. So I'm going to move that down there. So each different bit stays together, and you can just click and drag it like that to wherever you want it on the mat. And that way, according to how much vinyl you've got and things and the shape of it, you can sort it. So it's on a mat because I've not got any smart vinyl, and the Cricut Explorer 2 doesn't support smart vinyl. So that's the black one. I'm going to go down to the red, and it just shows me the tiny little dots here. I think they're going to be too wee, but we'll try them. Again, I'm going to spread them out a bit. Going to go to the brown, and that's fine, that's Joey's head. The yellow, again, they're tiny. Going to just spread them out a little bit. And then the blue, there's only one wee dot there, so that is fine. So then I'm going to click continue, And I need to remember it's normal vinyl this time, not heat transfer vinyl, so it's just adhesive vinyl. So it is finding my machine, which it's found. Now, what I did earlier, I'm going to take you to my Explorer. You've only seen me use the Cricut Joy so far, and that hasn't got any buttons on it, but with the Explorer, you can turn it to tell it what kind of material it is that you're cutting. Okay, so if I was doing cardstock, and what I did earlier was I just turned it to normal vinyl, but that wasn't enough, it didn't cut properly. So I like to go with my Explorer and just go to custom, which then lets you choose on Design Space what you're going to cut it from. So I'm going to, you can see this bit here is light grey, so that's what it would try to cut just now. But I want to go back to the beginning. Up here, click on number 1. There we go. Now this is the sparkly vinyl stuff, so I'm going to click on Browse All Materials. I'm going to go up to Categories and type in Vinyl. And it gives us loads of different options. Now I went for this holographic sparkle vinyl the last time, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on Done. And then what I did was up here where it says default pressure, my blade's quite old now, so I'm changing that to more. And it's telling me I need my fine point blade and I need to load it. So let's get the vinyl on the mat. I'm using my green standard grip mat just now because my blue light grip isn't sticky at all anymore. So I've got my vinyl and I'm just going to line it up with the grids on the top. What you can do to make sure that you've got enough vinyl in the right places, you can click on there and it will bring it up for you again. Oh. So it's showing me I need it to be about 11 centimetres by about 7 centimetres. And I'm at inches on the mat, but I think that looks okay. So I'm just going to go for it. Look at the rainbow colour, how cool is that? Right, I'm just going to go for it. So over here, this is the fine point blade that I've got in, which is fine. This light is flashing, telling me that it wants me to load my material. So I'm going to put the mat in under those little lips. And I'm going to push it in just until I can feel that it stops. I'm going to click the flashy button and this loads it. That's it loaded. And over here, it's telling me to press go and the Cricut button is flashing. With the Joy, you click go on the screen. With the Explorer, you click on the machine. So I just click this flashing light and hopefully this is going to cut nicely. Right, so it's now flashing to tell me to unload it. Normally, or what I did the last time was I put it through again to make sure it was definitely cut properly. And it's okay to do that as long as you don't unload it first. If you unload it first, it might not reload in exactly the same position. So if you're going to send it to cut again, instead of pressing the flashing button, press the C again and it will start. However, I did notice that it was doing something really weird over here. It was like something really jaggy and it took ages, so I don't want to risk cutting it again in case it messes it up. So I'm just going to click the unload button and take this out, and then we can have a look and see what it did. I'm just going to gently take it off the mat. And then I've got an extra little light on here so I can see where it has been cut. It's hard to pick up on camera. It was the doing. For some reason, the letters must be a bit shaky rather than straight. It looks like it's hopefully cut okay. Next one is now telling me it's the red that I want on my mat. And I'm only going to put a tiny little scrap of red on because it's tiny. I only need it like 3 centimetres by 3 centimetres. So I'm going to cut this bit off. And then I'm going to put this on my mat. And that should be big enough. It's not holographic sparkle vinyl anymore, so I'm going to click the down arrow. I'm going to browse all materials, categories, I'm going to change to vinyl. And I'll change it to, it's just a cheap vinyl, that one. But I'll change it to premium vinyl because I do need it cut quite well. And I'm going to put the, there's the cat. Smelly cat, smelly cat. I'm going to put this to more again just in case. And no, hold on till I let the cat out. Still got my fine point blade in. So it's loading it and now it's flashing to say go. Now this should be very quick because it's just a wee circle. There we go. What I might do actually, I might just put that in again to be on the safe side. So instead of pressing unload, I'm going to press C and then it's going to cut it in exactly the same place as it did a second ago. There we go. Now it's telling me to unload. I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but can you see those little circles that I've cut? So that's good. The next one is brown. Let me find a brown vinyl. Hopefully I've got some. Yes, I've got some brown vinyl, so I'm going to pop that on my mat. And it's the same type of vinyl, so I don't need to change the settings. I'm going to pop that in there. Press load. And then go. Again, I'm not going to put it back into cut because it was doing all the wee tiny things again. And I'm not sure, it might have actually tried to cut off the vinyl. So I'm going to unload this and have a look at it. So I'm going to press unload. So that's a reason it can be quite good to actually watch your cut. Because you can see his eyebrows there. His head might have just been cut off. What I'm going to do is I'll try reading it. And if it looks silly, I'll cut it again. Now telling us to put the yellow on. And that has cut 3 little circles. And it's just the blue to go now. And tiny little circles up there. So what we want to do now is we want to just click done so that it knows we have finished and it takes us back to our design. Now it's time for weeding, and the first thing that I want to do is try weeding Joey's head to see whether we're going to have to recut him or not. So to save vinyl, cut round the image. Let me see, it's not very easy to see on camera. I'll turn you around this way because I've got a little light shining on it. I'm going to make sure that I don't cut any of the cut marks. Now, I always think of weeding as like weeding in the garden, so you're getting rid of all the bits that you don't want to keep. I take my scraper tool. You can use like an old credit card, a store card, anything like that. It's basically just to scrape over it, make sure that it's sticking properly to the backing, and I turn it over and do it again. And that just makes sure, hopefully, that the cut bit sticks to the backing and the other bit comes away. I've got this weeding tool. Now, I would advise that you get a weeding tool if you've not got one. I think mine came with the Explorer 2, but you can get other ones from Hobbycraft or online, the likes of Amazon, anywhere like that. And it doesn't need to be Cricut brand. This is, but it doesn't need to be. So basically what you want to do is have a look at your design. I'm going to start at the corner here because I know I don't want to keep any of that. And I'm going to gently pull round. Right, it's lifting my little eyebrow up here. So I want to, there we go. Oh, it's moved position, I think. See, that's a problem with this cheap vinyl. It doesn't stick to its backing very well. I'll need to manually sort the eyebrows when I'm doing it. But we just want to make sure that they don't stay in with the rest of... Oh, now this one's picked up. Where did that one go? There we go. You just need to watch it like a hawk. especially if it is a cheaper vinyl. Okay, so the eyebrows are moving about. He looks a bit confused now. Me too, Joey, me too. Ah, right. So, where I thought it had cut off, it has. It's gave him a bit of a flat head, so I am going to recut that. Before I do that, I'm going to weed everything else out to make sure that it stayed, that I don't need to recut anything else. I want to check all the black glittery holographic one, because that was doing something very odd when it was cutting. So let's get this and find out where our designs are. Can you see them there? So I'm going to cut the cat out first. Trying to make sure that I don't cut anything else by mistake. There's our cat. Here's our how you doing. Up here we've got Smelly. I cut as close to the design as possible so that I can save vinyl. And this, because it's the holographic, is going to look really nice in resin. So even the bits that I weed out, I'm keeping so that I can use them in resin. But I like to save as much as possible. And now we have just got the word cat. There we go. So I'm going to start with the cat. Turn it over, scrape it down. Hopefully this will come off okay, because I did only do one pass instead of two. So it's maybe not cut as well as it did with the other ones. Oh, it has. Ah, now see what I mean? Look, that's still all very sparkly, and that side, that'll be lovely in resin, so I'm not getting rid of that at all. So our cat's turned out lovely. Let's check the how you doing, because that's the bit that looked like it was a wee bit weird when it was cutting. It was like it was, rather than smooth lines, it was shaky lines. So the Cricut was trying to cut out all the tiny wee bits, which can sometimes make it struggle. Oh, I've not tried. Oh, I've not burnished it down, silly me. And then when you start weeding, it's a good idea to get an idea of what part of the pattern you're at, so you know what should be lifting. I don't know if you can see, but this is the D down there for doing. So I'm going to start down here, and I know roughly where it should be, leaving some on the backing paper. Basically just cutting, weeding away the outside bit, so I'm just left with my design. There's the D. Oh! Some people do weed on the mat because it's sticky and they find it easier, but I don't. Maybe I should. Okay, so there's, and it's just a case of being very gentle and making sure that, oh, there was a wee bit about to be left there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this bit off. I'm going to start from this side because there was a bit trying to lift there that shouldn't have. So it's the Y that's wanting to lift up. So it's just a case of using your retool to make sure the bit that's trying to lift actually stays down. And because the backing paper of vinyl isn't that sticky, it does sometimes try to move, which can be a nuisance. Now, I need to watch because I could lose the little dot of the question mark down here. So I'm going to put my tool on the dot. And then I'm going to, yeah, it's trying to lift up. Now, that dot of the question mark is so tiny, but as you can see, it looks a bit silly without it. So I want to try to save it. Where's my tweezers? better. Now I need to take out the inside of the letters. So the O. I did actually watch a video that showed that it's easier to take the inside of the letters out first, and I totally forgot about it, because once you've got the outside of the design away, it's easy for it to all move about on the backing paper when you're trying to take the insides out. So I do try now to remember to take the insides of the letters out first. Hello, willa willa. So it's handy to have a pair of tweezers as well as your reading tool when you're doing this bit. And like I say, it's just a case of taking your time, because you've spent a long time designing and cutting. The last thing you want to do is mess up this bit. How you doing? You can see there, that's where it was doing funny things, but it's managed, it's stayed. Oh, nearly losing that wee bit again. I'm going to do this bit out off camera because it's just the same thing again. Right, so I have weeded out Smelly Cat, how you doing? We've got the cat there. Oh, the dots will be there as well. I'll worry about them once. I'll actually just put them straight onto the cup, I think. What I'm going to do now, I've came back to Design Space and I have hidden all of the other things that we just cut. So it's only the head and eyebrows left. I'm going to do what's called reverse weeding to let you see. It's a way to weed when you have got little bits that can tend to kind of come off easily. Right, while that's cutting, I'm going to show you how to transfer your design onto your blank. So I'll start with the little cat. So I've weeded it all, it's ready to go. I've just got some transfer tape, which is sticky tape, and this has already been used because you can reuse it a few times. This one comes on a massive roll like that, and it's got the white backing. When you take the backing off, it's nice and sticky. So you are just going to carefully cover your design. Try not to get any bubbles in it, and then make sure it's pressed right down. I take my wee scrapey tool again, make sure it's stuck to the transfer tape okay. Then I lift it up, turn it over, and rather than taking the transfer tape away from the backing, I take the backing away from the transfer tape, and as you can see, it has left our little cat there, ready to put on our cup. Got my cup here, and cups are awkward because they move about. So I'm just going to take my wee crochet blanket here and pop that there so I can lean on it. It's not a very good angle for you, but hopefully you will see what I'm doing. And because the cup is curved, it's really difficult to get it straight, so I'm just going to do my best. Now, a little tip for you. Rather than going straight on with the transfer tape, and if you stick it in the wrong place, you're like, help. What to do is get a bit of greaseproof paper or something like that, and just leave a little bit of your design exposed, because this bit here won't stick to the cup. So it gives you a little bit of leeway before you actually stick your design down. This is not the best way to do it, but we'll give it a go. In fact, you know what? I wonder if I should put Smelly Cat on first, and then I can decide where I want the cat. That might be a good idea. Normally, I would put the dots on it and lift it all with the transfer tape, but because they're so tiny, I'm just going to put the dots separately on the cup once this is on. Transfer tape. I'm going to put it over my design, like that. Take my wee scrapey tool or bank card, whatever you've got. Make sure it's all stuck properly. Turn it over and gently peel the backing. Most vinyl does stick quite well to the transfer tape. So there we go, we've got smelly now. I'm going to take another bit of greaseproof paper. So I'm just exposing a bit of it. Now I wanted smelly just above that line and then cat just above that. The good thing about using the greaseproof paper as well is you can see through it, so I can see where the line is. And like I said, it's not going to go completely straight because it's a curve. But once you've got it roughly where you want it, just rub the bit that is exposed to the cup. Then you can gently take away that and have a look. Yeah, that's straight enough. Because the friends' letters aren't perfectly aligned, they are quite randomly placed. I think that looks okay. So I'm just making sure that it's definitely stuck to my cup. And then I'm going to very carefully get a corner of my transfer tape. And there, oh, see, you need to be careful because it's still trying to come off. And if you can fold the transfer tape back on itself as much as possible and get the acutest angle possible, it tends not to lift the letters up too much. Sorry if you can hear my dog, I'll show you in a second what he's doing. There we go, so we've now got smelly. I just need to show you my dog. What you doing, Clyde? What you doing? Are you wanting my coffee? Are you? This dog is a coffee addict. Now, I've only just made it. Look, I've hardly even started drinking it and he's already hanging about wanting it. So that's smelly done. Now I'm just using the same bit of transfer tape for the word cat. Sometimes it's quite good if your transfer tape isn't too sticky, because if it is, it lifts your letters back up off your, blank cup or whatever it is, mug, whatever you're putting it on. Turn it over and slowly peel the backing from the tape. Look, the A's trying to come up here. Get back down. And go. There we are. Cat. I'll take my greaseproof paper and my word cat, half cover it. And I want to pretty much try and get it in the middle of the word smelly. I'd say that looks about right. I'm trying not to press the transfer tape onto the word smelly in case it lifts some of those letters up when I bring it off. Then just gently take out. There we go. Give it a really good rub down. Clyde, I've still not finished it yet. He's still hanging about trying to get my coffee. Again, get a very acute angle. And because it's not too sticky now, it's working well. There we go, smelly cat. I've not got the dots on yet, obviously. Now we can put our cat on and decide where we want it. Does that look about right? I think so. So again, the bit that's exposed. And that way, if I thought, actually, it's not right, it's easy enough just to pick it back up. Whereas if you've stuck the whole thing down, it can tend to just leave the vinyl where you're not wanting it. That'll do. So that's just a little tip to help you get your designs on straight. Right. Hey, smelly cat. Speed this bit up, showing you how I'm putting on the how you doing. And then I'll come back to you when I'm going to read the head. Right, so you might have noticed that the thing I was trying to avoid happened, and that was basically I lost the little dot from the question mark. Now, it went on my finger, but I couldn't get it to stick on the cup instead of my finger. So I decided to take the question mark off altogether because I think it looks less silly without the question mark than it does with the question mark and no dot. So I have decided to take that off. Now, this transfer tape is now done. As you can see, it's all hairy and finger marked and stuff, but that was about 4 uses, so I'm just going to bin that bit now. And now I'm going to show you how to do reverse weeding. Right, so I've got my whole head this time. I've not cut the top of his hair off. So, as you can see here actually, the eyebrow has already started to lift. It's purely because this vinyl is cheap and it doesn't stick very well to its own backing paper. So, what we did here was normal weeding, and we basically took off all the excess, and we would then do what we did with the rest of the cup. We'd put the transfer tape on it, lift it off, and then transfer it over. With reverse weeding, what you do is you put the transfer tape on the image first, because it's more likely to stick to the transfer tape than it is to the backing. So I'm going to take this, I've got my wee tool, going to try to get this eyebrow back in the right place. There we go, that's a bit better. And I'm not going to scrape it yet, because if I scrape it, it will probably take this off altogether. So I've got a fresh bit of transfer tape, probably bigger than we need, but never mind. So I've not weeded anything yet, I've just cut the image out of the vinyl, taking away all the excess round about it. I'm going to put my transfer tape down, like I did before. And now, I'm going to take my scrapey tool, give it a scrape. So now I'm scraping it all onto the transfer paper. Then I'm going to turn the whole thing over. I'm going to lift, I've got a hair, it's a hazard when I've got dogs. I'm going to lift the backing paper off, see how easy it comes off there. Okay, now, you can see the bits that are cut that we want to stick to the transfer tape and the bits that we want to take away. We actually start down here at the little narrow point. It is a bit harder to get it started, and you need to watch because the vinyl does stick to itself. So I've got it started now. I need to just very gently lift it up. I need to pay attention to where the eyebrow is. Take a wee pair of scissors and snip it, and that way I'm working around the top half and then I can work around the eyebrows rather than trying to take it all off at the same time. Ah, it's sticking to itself again. That is one thing you do need to be careful of. Right, so it's lifting away quite nicely. Now I'm going to go back down here. To where I snipped it earlier, and this is where the eyebrow is, so I need to be careful to make sure that it sticks to the transfer tape like that. Look at that, that is much easier. So that's a good tip for, see if you've got really small bits of vinyl, that's a good way of doing it. Put it on the transfer tape first and then weed it. It's called reverse weeding. Let's say that looks about right. So, just going to gently remove it, and again, if it helps, you can use your wee scrapey tool to give it another stick down to the thingy. And
that's very helpful, wee scrapey tool.
A wee scrapey tool, that's the technical term, Brooke. For anyone who doesn't watch my vlogs, that's Brooke, my 13-year-old in the background. Yes, look, he's like, oh, I nearly lifted up the how.
Well, go back to bed. Yeah, come on then.
It's like 11:30 in the morning, she's telling the dog they're going back to bed. Yay! Right, so what I need to do now is put the little dots in between Smelly and Cat. Because they're so tiny, I'm not going to attempt to use transfer tape or anything. I'm just going to use my weeding tool and maybe even my tweezers. Right, I've got my little dots here. I'm not even going to bother cutting around them. Don't know if you can see it, so I'm just going to... Right, so I've moved it slightly. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to take a little bit that's not too sticky. I'm going to pick up just the dot that we want. So I've got just that dot, and this one's between the C and the A. And because they're quite randomly placed, you don't need to be too precise. That will do. There we go. And so again, I'm just going to loosen them slightly from the vinyl. Take a bit of transfer tape. So this is a little bit like reverse weeding, I would suppose. Here we go. And I'm going to go between the S and the M. Make it a wee bit looser. Do stick there. I want you to stick now. Right, the yellow one now. Here we go. That was a bit better, Fiona. I should have done it like that the first time. Mind you, this is a bigger one. There we go. This is where you want to be an octopus and have like 8 hands. That'll do. There we go. I just don't want the transfer tape to stick to the other letters and lift them. Just the blue bit now. It's just a case of trial and error really when you've got tiny bits like this. To be honest, they're very fiddly and I try to avoid them as much as possible. But when it's friends, you can't miss out these, can you? I mean, these are just too important. Right. This bit transfer tape might not be sticky enough, we'll see. Take the backing off the vinyl. Oh, and the backing has stuck to the dot. There we go. That was better, wasn't it? Yay! Right, so I'm gonna, off camera, oh, you can see where the cup's changing colour now as well. Oh, look at the name, that's brilliant. Right, off camera, I'm gonna cut the other dots for pivot. I might do unagi as well, just make them bigger, and I'll come back to you once they're done. And here we have the finished cup. So we've got unagi and pivot with our bigger circles now, our bigger dots. Millie, I think with hindsight, I could probably have made those letters smaller, but I don't want to take them off now and maybe leave the cup sticky and make it a mess, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. I do like the skyline, I think that's really nice. How are you doing? Without the question mark. Smelly cat, and the frame. So yeah, I think that's nice. I hope you've enjoyed watching how I created the French style cup. It's been a challenge, but I've enjoyed it and I've learned a lot from it as well, and hopefully you will as well. Yeah, I've learned how to weed and how to do reverse weeding and how to use greaseproof paper to make sure that you get it in place before you actually stick it down. All those sorts of things. So hopefully you'll have found that useful. If so, please do hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in our next one. Thanks everyone. Bye!